Good morning, everybody. Happy Monday. It is now just after 11 o'clock in the morning, and I started this vlog a little bit after I finished the last one because I have had a lot of work to do this morning. I thankfully, though, am all caught up today after being so stressed out this morning of all the things I needed to do. And I totally forgot that because I was out yesterday, I didn't show you guys the book haul that I was gonna do, because I did go buy a few books at Barnes & Noble and a couple of things at Target yesterday when I was out visiting my sister. Some of you may know, some of you might not, but I've been on kind of a loose book buying ban, like not necessarily where it's a full straight out I can't buy anything, but it is kind of a little bit more flexible where like I know I shouldn't necessarily be buying a ton of books all the time, but on special occasions, like when I get to go to Barnes & Noble with my sister or something like that, or for things that are like book club or reading series related that I'm like participating with other people, like the Brandon Sanderson read along, for instance, that is when I can, you know, buy a couple things here and there, and preferably at like the cheapest form possible. So typically that might be the Kindle version, or if I can find it used, you know, whatever. But yesterday we did go to the Barnes & Noble that was out by my sister. I basically got things that either were beginnings of series or were parts of series that I already am invested in, to where like I would want more of the books in that series and only grab like one thing from each. And then I did get the 2 books in a duology I've been meaning to get for a long time, and they were on sale, so I just grabbed them because it was gonna be one of those things where like, how often is it gonna be that they're gonna be this discounted? So first we'll go through the books I got at Barnes & Noble. So here's the bag. I got a big bag of it, and Oscar wants to now chew on the bag because it makes noise and he thinks it's his. Get your bone. Go get your bone. Don't. No. Leave it. Booba. Get out of it. Get out of it. So first 2 I got Uzumaki by Junji Ito. This is an author that I really liked when I read Tomie. I thought it was really, really well done, and I do want to collect more of his work because I think that he's just very interesting, and I've heard that just as a horror writer, he's one of like the best. Especially because this is a manga, so it's a lot easier to fly through. Tomie, I do think, took me like 2 full days to read, but it was broken up into like sections, so this was really easy to fly through, and I enjoyed Tomie so much that Uzumaki was like one I knew I had to get. Then I got Crave by Tracy Wolff. Now, I don't really know much about this. All I have heard though is that the series gets better after the first one, and it does have Twilight vibes, and if you know anything about me, you know that I despise Twilight. I hate it with a passion. I do not really understand why people enjoy it, but I'm happy for those people that enjoy it. I just don't, because I find it to be incredibly cringy. I don't care for the movies. I don't care for the books. I don't think that they're anything spectacular like everybody makes them out to be. And I've heard Crave is like, it feels like Twilight, but it's not, and so then it's a lot better in some ways. But I have to switch out my battery real quick, so give me 1 second. Okay, we've switched to my phone instead because my other battery is basically dead because I had to switch it this morning. So we're gonna deal with this because I don't know what's going on, but my batteries are not charging correctly. So hopefully the one that's charging now will be charged. Not really heard much about this. All I know is that it's supposed to be reminiscent of Twilight in a sense, with the fact that it's vampires, and obviously the cover is very reminiscent of Twilight at all. But I have heard that the series gets a little bit better the further you go, and I think that currently there's 5 or 6 books in the series, so I grabbed the first one, not sure if I was going to enjoy it, but if I do, I would really like to have the rest of it, but I have the entire series on my Amazon wish list. So that way at least I knew like where I could find the rest of them if I would like to get them. So then I also got a few manga over the course of this, but I got the first volume of Soul Eater a long time ago when I first was looking into getting into anime. This was one that my husband and I had tried to watch, and we only watched the first episode, mind you, and we always meant to go back to it, but at this point it's been like I don't know, going on like 5-6 years since we first saw that first episode. I have heard, though, that this is a very well-beloved manga series and anime, so I would like to eventually get back to this because I really did like the first episode. I thought it was very cute and very fun, so I grabbed the first volume of the manga because I figured, why not? I might as well get started with this and figure out if I would like to continue reading it. And I've been on a bit of a manga kick recently since reading Haikyuu and Bleach last year. I really enjoyed that, so like I want to collect more manga because of that so that I can read all of these series that people really seem to like. Speaking of which, the next one I've heard nothing but good things about recently is Spy Family Volume 1. I have heard so many amazing things about this series in particular that I feel like I kind of just bought into the hype. But I've heard that it's just very fun, especially the further you go, so I definitely figured I would grab this one just because I want to get started with this one as well. Next one is another very hyped book, specifically from Bree at Bree Cherie Reads. She is one of the co-hosts for the Brandon Sanderson read-along, and I've done a few live shows with her and Brandy from Books with Brandy Shanae. But this book was one that she read recently outside of the Brandon Sanderson read-along, but is another Brandon Sanderson book that she has said is like the most amazing thing ever, and she is like asking everybody to read it just, you know, because she loves it so much. And so I figured while I was at the bookstore, I would grab it if I could find it. And I did, and it is Alcatraz versus the Evil Librarians. And this looks so cute, and I don't know, something about a middle grade Brandon Sanderson seems really fun to me because I've been working on the Rithmatist, and it's fine, but it's not my most favorite kind of thing, but I feel like that he would just be a really great middle grade writer. Then this next one, it's not so much that I necessarily need to read this because I've read it in the past, but I'd like to reread it because I have the second book on Kindle, and I didn't realize I didn't have the first one at all, but it is The Giver by Lois Lowry. I read The Giver initially back in middle school, and I really enjoyed it so much that it kind of just always stuck in my brain. And I never continued the rest because I didn't know when I was in middle school that it was a 4-book series. I think it was a couple years ago I bought the Kindle version of the second book, Gathering Blue, and I've been meaning to get back to it, but I've been feeling like I've lost a lot of what exactly happened in The Giver. Like, I know like the basic stuff, like what happens and how the story ultimately ends in this one, but I think I would like to reread this eventually to then continue with the rest of the series because I very distinctly remember being so upset in middle school when we got to the end of this one because it was a bit of a cliffhanger of sorts. Like, it wasn't like a full-on, like, we don't know what to expect, but there was something that happened at the end of this that I was like, that's it? That's all I get? Like, why are we stopping here? Can't we read the rest of it kind of thing? But so I would like to be able to read this one and then get to the second book and then even possibly read the other two. So figured I'd get a physical copy of this since I didn't already have one. And then the last 2 books I got from Barnes & Noble are also manga. The first one is Attack on Titan Volume 6. I have read the first volume, really loved it. I think I read it in my April Wheel of D20. I think that was it. Really, really loved the first volume. I have the first 5 altogether, so I figured I would pick up Volume 6. And then the last one I got from Barnes & Noble was Tokyo Ghoul Volume 1. Again, another manga series I've heard nothing but good things about, especially if you're kind of more into the supernatural horror kinds of things. Like, I don't know, I've just heard really good things about this, and it's about ghouls and turf wars and basically like somebody having to come into their power, which I'm always a fan of. So I've heard this was a big staple for a lot of people, especially the anime. So again, want to be able to collect some of the real staples of manga so that I can see why people seem to really enjoy it. And honestly, I'm just very happy that I have the manga collection I've been collecting because it just makes me so happy. And I just find them so fascinating. Like, they're just so good. I don't know why I didn't really read manga a lot as a kid, but I'm so glad that I'm getting into it now as an adult because it's just so much fun. Now, the 2 books that I bought at Target are part of a duology, like I said, and it is Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom by Leigh Bardugo. I have been debating on getting these for a long time because like I just couldn't find them where they were decently priced anywhere without being like the hardcover or just being more than like $10 a piece. But I found these at Target, and Crooked Kingdom by itself was 20% off, but they were both like 9 something at Target.
So I was like, I'm getting them because I have the entirety of the Shadow and Bone trilogy. I don't have the King of Scars duology at all. I saw King of Scars there, but I figured I would wait because I did really like Shadow and Bone. I would like to read the Six of Crows duology before I decide to get anything with the King of Scars because I want to know if I'm going to really enjoy the character that goes into the King of Scars series, which I think is Nina, if I'm not mistaken, because I love Nikolai. Nikolai was one of my favorite characters in Shadow and Bone, but I don't know if I'm going to enjoy Nina at all to where I'm going to want to read anything from her in that other series. So did decide though to get these. My sister was a little surprised that I got them because she's like, I already have them. You bought the duology for me for like my birthday. And I was like, yeah, I know, but I want my own copies. With that being said, for right now, I'm gonna go because I was just taking the time to take a break from work because I finally got all caught up with everything. But I do need to get back to it here for a little bit longer before I go on my lunch. And basically what I'll be doing on my lunch is I'm gonna go take a shower and then I'm going to obviously eat my lunch and organize the rest of my day because I have yet to do that since I've been so busy this morning. So figuring out what I'm gonna do cleaning wise, figure out what I need to do for my practice today. And then tonight I would like to be able to finish the Rithmatist because I'm very close to the end of it. I think I've only got about 30% left of it. And if I can manage it, I'd like to start Supernova tonight by Marissa Meyer, but if not, I'll just wait till tomorrow, which is also fine because I was kind of anticipating on starting it tomorrow, but we'll kind of see how I'm feeling by the end of the night once I finish the Rithmatist. So
good morning, guys. It is going on 9 o'clock on Tuesday, and last night I finally finished The Rithmatist by Brandon Sanderson. I gave this a 4 out of 5 stars. I think that the end of this was actually really, really fun and really, I think, made up for a lot of the things that I had issues with over the course of this, one of which mostly being the real geometry, battle strategy stuff. I just feel like that throughout this, no matter how hard I tried, I did not fully grasp the mechanics of the Rithmatist fighting, which is fine. I think that, like, honestly, one of the things about this book is you don't really have to know what's going on 100% of the time. Like, the basics you understand are, like, the fact that the lines of vigor are the kind of ammunition, if you will, the lines of warding, it's the beginning of the defensive ideas, and then you have lines of forbiddens, which are added defenses, kind of like extra shielding, and the chalklings are basically another form of ammunition where they're kind of like going and attacking parts of the other person's line of forbiddens. The thing that I don't really seem to grasp very well is the different forms of defense. So there's like the 9-point circle, the 6-point, you know, I'm just not very good at geometry. I'm not sure if like going into this, if you knew a little bit more about geometry, if you would gain anything from this, like if you would think that it was interesting or whatever, because it was interesting to me on the side of the fact that like it's a very different battle style. It's a very different, very unique way of fighting that doesn't require really any weaponry except, you know, a piece of chalk to use to draw everything. And I will say that one of the other things I had an issue with that I actually ended up really enjoying later on, like toward the end of the story, was the character Melody. I thought she was really just this big attention grabber, just wanting all the spotlight on herself all the time, but understanding that like her family didn't never make her feel like she was important is a huge part of that. And on top of that, honestly, the kind of humor she has is very sarcastic, very kind of witty, and I just really appreciate that the story kind of made it almost as if she was like the grumpy and Joel was the sunshine in a sense of this relationship that they kind of built together. It was really sweet, and I will say that the main plot of this does get wrapped up, and the twist that happens toward the end I was really surprised by, because you're kind of led to believe that partway through, about 70% of the way through, that there's one particular person who is the villain behind everything, and then very quickly you see that's not the case, and then the actual person who's done everything is a complete surprise, and you don't really know how exactly that's possible. And then there's even more twists by the very end of this within like the last chapter, and that very last twist that happens at the end of the last chapter is basically what will put forward the next book in this series, because according to my friend Bree, There are supposed to be 2 more books in this series. Brandon just hasn't really been able to put them out as of yet. This book just really hit a lot more marks for me by the end of it, and I think that overall it was a very fast read. I think it was very fun to read, but the mechanics were just not something I was super familiar with, and I never really felt like I got a good grasp of. But it's nothing saying that somebody else couldn't get that a little bit easier. Just for me, it was not something I could really grab onto very easily. So that's why it's a 4 out of 5 star as opposed to feeling like it's worth a 5-star, because I just don't feel like it was 100% perfect, but I do still really appreciate all the work that Brandon put into creating this world, because it's a very complex world, interesting, very unique setup of a fantasy world. It's got some steampunky elements that aren't super prevalent until later, but still very much has those feelings. If you're interested in a little bit more of a young adult way of writing for Brandon Sanderson, I would recommend this. And because I feel like his writing as a young adult writer is just about as similar, if not completely the same as his adult books, it makes me very excited for Skyward, because Skyward is a series I would like to get into as well, since that is one of his newer series. So last night I did not get started yet with Supernova, which is fine, because by the time I finished this, it was going on 11 o'clock. So today I will be getting through Supernova once I get a chance to. Thankfully, work today has been a lot slower so far this morning than yesterday was. Yesterday, up until about my lunch period, was very, very, very busy, to the point where I was getting very annoyed quickly. So I do think that I might have some time to get through Supernova today if I can. And I did yesterday also manage to finally clean up the library. That was my cleaning project yesterday. So I picked up all the trash, I vacuumed, and I also reorganized all of my books to add in the new books I got on Sunday. I also completed my library spreadsheet for authors with the last name starting with M. I didn't have a lot of time to do anything else yesterday, like my practice stuff or my studying, which is fine. It's not something that's gonna hurt me if I don't do it every single day, but the goal is for me to try to do that. And if I miss a day, then, doing a little bit more the next day to make sure I can at least get the things done for my practice I wanna get done, because I have some very specific things over the course of this month that I would really like to get done for my practice. But the studying portion specifically also doesn't have to be done every single day. It's kind of like, an added thing for my practice for me to do every single day, as opposed to the fact that the actual more concentrated things like my journaling and, doing specific spell work or cleansing, stuff like that, that's all a little bit more important, and the studying is just kind of a supplemental thing. The audiobook for Supernova is 16 and a half hours long, and I think the physical book is 552 pages, which is definitely much longer than this, so it will take me a little bit more time to get through. But I do think that, like the other 2 books in the Renegades trilogy, it's going to move very quickly. I think that Marissa Meyer is another author where I feel like her young adult stuff is very easy to move through. It's very easy to kind of get centered into the world. And as much as I would like to annotate the book, I don't think I'm going to, because it's the first time I'm reading it compared to the other books where I've read it more than once. And I typically will annotate a book I love if it's the second or third time that I've read it. So I don't know, we'll see. If I feel up to it, I may do some small annotations or something, or at least flag some pages, but I'm not making that a priority exactly for this. And I don't know what's going on, but all my batteries just don't have nearly any charge to them anymore. I think I need to get a new battery for my camera, because these ones just don't last nearly as long as they used to. I've only been sitting here for about 10 and a half minutes, and my battery that had been fully charged on my charger all night last night is now dying. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if it's the batteries themselves just being, old and need to be replaced, or what. So I don't know. We'll see. Hi guys. So it is just after 2 o'clock on Thursday, and it's not been a very good couple of days. By now, you'll have seen that I posted a video about the fact that I needed to take a little bit of a break. I posted it actually last night on Wednesday, thinking that I wasn't going to really be able to do much in terms of making content or anything. But it's entirely possible I will. But in case you guys didn't see that, I did want to provide a little bit more context as to how things have gone, because things I think are gonna be kind of normal on my end. So last night I went to go on sprints with Bree from Bree Cherie Reads and Brandy from Books with Brandy Shanae. They invited me to come hang out on sprints for the night, and I said yes. And about 15-20 minutes into our sprints, we were still talking with everybody, hadn't even really started with sprinting as of yet. My husband came into the office and was crying, and I didn't know what was going on, so I stepped away for a second, and I found out that his brother had passed away. I didn't know his brother very well. He never really had a great relationship with him, but it was still his brother. And so I hopped off the sprints immediately. I apologized to Brandy and Bree and said that I had to go. Something bad had happened. And my husband then called his father, who then he went over to stay with his dad. They really needed each other. And I offered to go with him. I offered, to be there for support. And my husband said that I didn't have to, that I could stay home. And so he left and is still with his dad. Will probably be with him for the rest of the day, if not tonight as well, because they need each other right now, and I respect that. I had asked when he called me earlier today if there was anything I would need to do to maybe prep, because his brother lived in Alabama for several years, and so it was very likely that we were going to have to go to Alabama for services of some kind. I had to inform my work today that while I was going to be able to finish out this week, I may have to be gone for a couple of days depending on how things go. I don't still have all the information as of yet of what's going on. My husband does not either, because this all just happened last night, so I'm not surprised. But Robert did say that if it came down to it, he would want me to stay home, because it's a very different scenario. If I think I had known his brother a little bit better, it would be something where me going was no question. So that was why I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to put out content at all this coming weekend or even next week, because I have no idea what the next steps are. All that to basically say I don't really still 100% know what is going to be going on. I will obviously, vlog when I can, but this video probably won't have gone out for quite some time, depending on if I have the time. And I have got some really very sweet messages from everybody that watched the video I had posted, sending their thoughts, their prayers, their good vibes. So thank you to those of you that did. My parents are aware, my sister is aware of what's happened, because I had to inform them that was possible we might not be able to go see my dad for Father's Day, because we didn't know whether or not, like this weekend, we would have to prep to go somewhere. So I just don't really know what to expect. I think that for right now, I'm going to operate under the assumption that I will not be going anywhere, because Robert has said that he doesn't necessarily want me to have to worry about going anywhere, that he will handle it. And I respect that. I respect that he wants to handle things his own way. And I just have to kind of be here for support. And that's hard for me, for somebody who just wants to be involved and make everything better and kind of take over everything. But this is something I know that he needs to handle with his family, on his own, in his own way, and I just kind of have to be here for support, and I can do that. I'm able to do that. So I'm going to take it one day at a time, the best I can, try to figure out how to control what I can control, and kind of leave it at that. So I think in terms of what is going to be going on for the rest of the day, I don't really know. I have some things I would like to be able to do, cleaning and other daily task wise that I would like to do that I'm probably going to push off until after I finish work here. I've got a little less than 3 hours left of my day, so I would like to kind of figure out how exactly I want to tackle everything. Nothing like super ridiculous, really just like I said, doing like my library spreadsheet, doing my basic cleaning for the day, stuff like that, and then making dinner. It's just going to probably be a rough couple of weeks here. So my batteries seem to be charging now effectively. I don't know what was going on. I think that it's possible the wall plug I have for my batteries was not sitting correctly in the outlet. So that's interesting, but we'll see how this goes because I just put a fresh battery in here and it's still looking like it's charged now almost 15 minutes into filming this clip. So hopefully next time I turn it on, it's still at almost a full battery. But last night I did get to page 201 of Supernova. I'm over a third of the way through this, and I'm actually really surprised with some of the things that have happened so far in this. Because for one, there is a reveal that was, I thought, something that was going to be made a little bit closer to halfway through the book that was done like not quite a quarter of the way through this, and I was really shocked about that. But it has led to some very interesting plot that I think I'm going to be curious to see how it all develops, because like basically I thought that what was going to happen was going to be more halfway through the book, and then it would cause the book to have a very quick kind of wrap up. But I do think that based on the events of Arch Enemies, this stuff had to happen a little earlier because there's so much more to tell of how exactly things play out with the ending of this entire story and the ending of these characters and things of that nature. So I am surprised, but I'm happy with the surprise I've seen, and I'm very hopeful because I have heard some people say that this was a pretty disappointing conclusion for them, for those that really enjoyed the first and the second books. So I'm hopeful that it will continue to be good for me, but I also am a little nervous because there's been some really bad things that have happened. But that's all I can say for right now. So I'm going to go for right now, and I'll check in with you guys at another point, very likely once I've finished Supernova, because I feel like that's going to be the most effective time for me to come back, give myself some time to figure out what's going on, give myself some time to figure out what exactly the plan is for Robert and I in terms of like how things are going to happen if there are services that need to be dealt with and taken care of. So I probably won't update you guys for a couple of days, but that's fine. It's going to be what it is, and I know you guys understand. Thank you so much for all the love and support you guys have sent my way. We'll kind of just see how things pan out. So I will talk to all you guys when I can. Good morning, guys. It is just now 11:15 in the morning on Saturday. I don't really have many updates for you. I'm on page 241 of Supernova here, and I do want to get through more of this today. It's been a really rough couple of days for us here with everything that's going on, but yesterday after work I went to go get out of the house because I really hadn't been out of the house much at all this week, and I needed to get away just for a couple of hours. So I went to the bookstore that I frequent out here, which is Schuler Books. So got a few things. Everything I got was from the youth section, which I was really excited about. I only spent like $45 on like 5 books. First, I found a Book of the Month edition of Queenie by Candace Carty Williams. I've heard nothing but good things about this when it had first come out. I want to say it was like in 2021 it came out. 2019. Okay, I thought it came out a little bit more recently than that, but it says Bridget Jones's Diary meets Americana in this disarmingly honest, boldly political, and truly inclusive novel that will speak to anyone who has gone looking for love and found something very different in its place. I heard a lot of friends who are people of color that this was a really good story, and it's fairly short. It is kind of one of those kind of adult contemporary, maybe literary fiction-esque kinds of stories. Next thing I got is a copy of We Hunt the Flame by Hafsa Faisal. I could have sworn that I at least had the ebook version of this, but I looked and I don't. But this is one of my friend Princess's favorite books, and so when I saw that it was a used copy, and in really good condition for that matter, I knew I had to snatch it up at the very least to make sure I had it. And I will get the second book if I really seem to like this, but she adores it, so I think that I'm going to like it a lot. Next, I got a copy of Maybe Sunday by Colleen Hoover. I've been on a Colleen Hoover, like, kick for some reason. I don't know why. Like, I really liked It Ends With Us, but I haven't really read much of hers, but I've been, like, slowly building a collection of Colleen Hoover to kind of try to binge through. Next, I got a memoir, which is Sissy, A Coming of Gender Story by Jacob Tobia. I remember seeing this come around when it first came out. I don't even remember when it came out exactly. 2019 again. This is a memoir about a person who, I don't know if they consider themselves trans, but at least maybe non-binary. I don't really know much about this, but you know, I'm all for reading memoirs, especially of LGBTQ IAP+ people, especially with it still being Pride Month. So I saw this on the used rack and I was like, yes, I've heard this was a really good memoir for a lot of people, that they really seem to enjoy it, and so I was going to grab it myself. And then the last book I ended up getting was another recommendation from a lot of people who read it during, oh gosh, was it Winterween, I think? Either that or it was Springween, I can't remember, but it is Clown in a Cornfield by Adam Cesar. This is a young adult kind of slasher horror. I know Gavin from How to Train Your Gavin really seemed to like it. I think Olivia from Olivia Reads a Latte also read it and enjoyed it, so I would like to be able to read it. It's not often that you find YA slasher horror. There's a very, very niche kind of place in YA for that, and so I am excited to see how this goes. It's blurred by Stephen Graham Jones, who is a wonderful author. I read The Only Good Indians by him, and that was very atmospheric and creepy. So if he seems to really like this, then I'm gonna assume that this is actually something worth my time. Those are the 5 books I got. Again, I spent like $45 on all of these, which was amazing. I probably could have spent at least double that normally. Anyway, so today is gonna be a pretty, I think, productive day. I am going to be home pretty much all day. My husband is going to go see his dad and take Oscar with him to let Oscar go play around with their dogs. I'm not going to get into any of the specifics of what exactly has happened, but we're basically not going to the funeral. There's a lot of family drama, that's all I'll say, because I don't really know all the details, but all I know is that we are not going to the funeral for his brother, which it's not ideal. My husband obviously would like to be able to go, but he is basically not allowed to go. So that's that. I'm gonna be doing editing and reading sprints for pretty much all day because I need to get last week's vlog finished editing. I've been obviously not editing much of it because I haven't really had the energy to, but I need to get the rest of it done. And then I will also be reading more of Supernova. According to the audiobook, I'm like almost 50% of the way through it, which is nice. I'm happy with that, and I'm really enjoying a lot of what's been going on. I'm at 43% of it, and I have about just under 9.5 hours left of the audiobook. So I could, in reality, finish it today if I really, you know, tried my best at it. But we'll see kind of how the day goes. But right now, I'm going to go ahead and get started with my sprints and stuff, and I don't know, I'll check in with you guys tomorrow, I guess, because I really don't know what else I can really do for right now. Because it's going to be basically me just editing, reading. Mom's going to come over probably at some point today, like in the afternoon. And then, I don't know, I think, like I said, I could, you know, possibly finish Supernova today, but we'll see. Hello everybody, it is now about 1:21 in the afternoon on Sunday. Happy Father's Day to those of you that celebrate. If you don't celebrate Father's Day because of any reason, hope it's a good day for you. It is also Juneteenth, so happy Juneteenth to my Black content creators. I hope that today was a good day for you. In celebration of that, I will make sure to leave below channels that I specifically follow that are Black creators that I really, really love. So obviously I've got Princess from Castle Library, Bree from Bree Cherie Reads, Brandy from Books with Brandy Shanae, Bonnie from Books with Bonnie, and several other ones that I definitely want to share some love to because I really enjoy their content. But with that being said, I am finally getting the footage uploaded from last week's vlog now this week. I finally got the footage edited and everything, so now that's going to be going up. And I will be closing out this vlog later today. I'm not ready to do so as of yet, but I will hopefully be able to get this vlog out fairly soon within this next week. The only thing I can say in terms of updates at this point is that they are going to be doing their own memorial service here. Basically, my husband and his family are going to be going around to different places in the state to commemorate this family member who passed away, because they're going to some of his favorite places that he had seen when he was here last. And so it's going to be a few days of that. They're going to be leaving tomorrow morning and should be back, I think, maybe Wednesday. And I'm very grateful that they're able to do something. I unfortunately have to work, and so I can't go with them. I can't take the time off that I would like to be able to do that as I thought I was going to. Anyway, sad stuff over. Let's talk about my reading for right now, because I am going to be working on getting through more of Supernova. According to my audiobook, I am about 57% of the way through. I have about 7 hours left, so I should be able to get through more of this today. I am going to pop the audiobook in for probably the next hour or so before Princess's Sprints, and then I'm going to be partaking in those. I think while I do all that, I am going to be playing The Sims, because for some reason last week I decided to play The Sims like one day when I was really feeling crummy and I needed just something to do to take my mind off things. So listening to my audiobook and playing The Sims was just really fun, so I think that we're going to do that today. But yeah, so hope you guys are doing all right. I do think that I could possibly finish this today, especially because Robert just left to go see his dad again. They're basically getting the last things prepped before they go tomorrow on their trip. So we're kind of just waiting for him to get back. Oscar is very upset at the fact that he did not get to go this time, because he got to go over there yesterday and play with all the other dogs, and he was very, very happy. But I think he's also very tired. Like, even when Robert was getting ready to leave, the poor puppy was basically trying to stay awake as long as he could because he was so exhausted. We did not get out of bed until like 11 o'clock this morning, so safe to say I think we're all pretty exhausted. I think Oscar more so than the rest of us, the poor thing. So he's currently napping on the floor. I'm gonna go grab something to eat though. My husband said he had some leftovers from the very late dinner he made for himself last night, so I'm gonna go grab some of that, and I think I'm just gonna get started with playing on The Sims for a little while and get through some more Supernova. I'll come back later today when I have finished Supernova, because I do want to, tell you guys how I think about it. There will be a review video for Supernova that I should be able to film here in this next week. So do keep your eyes out for that review video here probably after this video comes out. Right now, we're gonna just, check in later with what my initial thoughts of it are before I go into something in depth in the review. And we'll kind of just, look into what's going on this next week, because I do think that I'm going to be able to get back on the horse with a lot of stuff after having had the last few days be pretty crummy to where I feel like I couldn't do much. So we'll see. Okay, so it is now 8:14 on Sunday still. We're going to wrap up this vlog. So first of which, I finished Supernova by Marissa Meyer. Y'all know it was going to be a 5-star read. Like, oh my god. So I didn't know exactly how this was going to go, because the first quarter of this really kind of took off quickly to where I didn't know how much there was going to really be of the story in terms of what was going to happen. It just was like one of those weird kinds of stories where you just don't know what to expect, even though you kind of can guess things pretty early on in terms of how it's going to overall end from the very beginning. Ultimately, there is a point where I had already guessed that characters would fall a certain way at the end of everything in terms of who they would align with. That was pretty predictable, but wasn't necessarily bad by any means. I just had already kind of guessed that certain characters would go certain ways. But overall, the last 40% of this was people dying or losing powers left, right, and center. This was Marvel's Infinity War level of destruction and mayhem and sadness. I am not kidding when I say that it is so clear Marissa Meyer, this entire series has been inspired by the Marvel Universe, because there's so many things that I think are not necessarily full-on copying Marvel, but the themes and the kind of construction of the plot, especially some of the battle scenes, feel very much like Marvel. So I think that if you are a fan of Marvel, you might enjoy this. I wouldn't say that you're gonna like absolutely everything about it because everybody's tastes are different, but I think that if you really enjoy Marvel and some of the more wittier, kind of goofy-esque kinds of characters, this is a great series for you to read, but be warned that the end of the series is heartbreaking. And I really appreciated too how the very end of this book, the very end of this entire trilogy, it leaves things off in a way that is very interesting. I wouldn't have expected the way that the story ended to be something I would have really liked, but for some reason I feel like that the only way I like the kind of ending that this had in terms of what happens to everybody, because I can't say anything without spoiling it, no other author could I think have pulled off the kind of ending that was done here than Marissa Meyer. And having had 2 books where she's showcased her ability to write the fight scenes incredibly well, write the characters in a way where like you don't know who to trust more, you don't know who you believe in more, you don't know whose side is really better. I think that the way that this whole series wrapped up finally by the end of it was just something that only very few people can do or few people can replicate. And by far, this has got to be my favorite trilogy of all time because every single book in this series is a 5-star. I just adore what Marissa has done with this series. Like, you're gonna have to hear my full thoughts on this in the review, which is going to be spoiler filled. There is no way I can talk about this book effectively without going into spoilers, and because this is a read, read, and finish series, it makes sense that I would want to put my full thoughts into everything. So I'm gonna be talking about a lot of stuff with this one. So if you have not read Supernova, if you've not read the Renegades trilogy, you definitely should. And if you're interested in hearing my full thoughts on Supernova from beginning to end and how I think it is as a final book in the series and how I feel that the overall ending is and what I would like to see if we can get more stuff out of this world, make sure that when that video comes out, you guys check it out if you're interested in it, because it's gonna be a time. It's gonna be a very fun review for me to write the notes for and then film, because it's gonna be nothing but me just gushing, and I'm so excited for it. And now the next book I'm gonna be starting on is A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas, which I've been putting off reading this series for a while, and I'm interested because my sister has been reading this series and has really, really liked it. So I think I'm going to enjoy it because Tori and I tend to have very similar tastes, very similar things that we like within books when we read them together. But this is going to be for Princess's read-along. I'm supposed to read this in May, and so this is the final book from May that I was supposed to read. And I did count Supernova for page points, so I got 100 points for Battle of the Bookish with that one. But, so the goal for this next week is to get through the entirety of this and then also get through The Lightning Thief, which is my Wheel of D20 book for June. It's the only book I have for the Wheel of D20, so it has to be done this month in order for me to be able to be done with the Wheel of D20 for this round and have July as a kind of free month where I get to basically do whatever I want with it within reason. And then after that, I would like to be able to get through, I think, the first of Mistborn Era 2 was the next one I was going to start. Yes, I was going to do the Alloy of Law, which is the beginning of Mistborn Era 2. So hopefully I can get cranking on those, but the biggest goals are to get Court of Thorns and Roses done and The Lightning Thief, and maybe at least get started with the Alloy of Law, but we'll see. But one other thing I want to talk about real quick before I actually close out this vlog is I did get a package from somebody who very graciously sent me something just to cheer me up. Now, unfortunately, it was sent to my parents' house. I don't know why, but that might be because I need to update my wish list address. I thought it was sent to this house, but it's not. But my mom received a package and said it was for me, and I got a wonderful gift from one of my subscribers, Carissa. Carissa, thank you so much for sending me a book. Your note was so sweet, and I know I already thanked you on Instagram, but thank you so much for that again. It really honestly it made me feel very loved, and it just, you know, the fact that you were just willing to send something out to me just randomly was just a very sweet gesture, so thank you so much. For those of you that would like to know, Carissa sent me the memoir that Josh Peck had written, which was called Happy People Are Annoying or something like that. The picture will be right here, obviously, but this is a brand new thing. Like, this just recently came out and is Josh Peck's memoir and like collection of essays basically, which I thought was really cool that he was coming out with a book about a lot of stuff. So because I really liked Josh Peck with being on Drake and Josh growing up, and so I thought I would, you know, put that on my wish list for eventual reading if I could get to it, because I'd like to hear what he has to say, because he's a pretty silly dude and I like him. But thank you so much, Carissa, for sending this to me. I really appreciate it, and my mom will hopefully over this next week get that over to me. Yeah, so that's basically it for today. I think that basically what I'm gonna do is, since Robert is not gonna be home yet for a while, I'm going to go kind of relax. I think I'm gonna go get my tablet and get started on A Court of Thorns and Roses. Hopefully this next week will go pretty well. It's a pretty normal work week for me, and Robert will be gone from tomorrow to I think at least Wednesday. So I'm gonna have some time to be able to get a lot of stuff done. I guess if you guys are interested, since my birthday is coming up, and I know people tend to want Amazon wish lists, you know, for just because they want to send stuff. If you ever feel like you want to send me something, my Amazon wish list is listed at the very bottom of my description. I leave it all the way down there because I don't always know if people want to send me things. I don't really promote that too much to people, just because it's something that, you know, is up to you whether you want to do it, but I leave it there in case you find it and you would like to send something. In addition, there's also a link to my Ko-Fi, because I had, or Coffee, whatever you want to call it, because I had people in the past ask me to maybe make one, and they would, you know, support me through that. So you would basically just buy me a cup of coffee and that would be it. And really, if you don't want to do that, that's totally fine. I just had people in the past ask me to make it, so I made it, and you know, do with that what you will, I guess. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you guys did enjoy this video, please do give it a big thumbs up. And if you haven't already and you'd like to be and would like to see more content like this, go ahead and hit the button down below and subscribe to become an owlet in our flock. And I will see all of you guys in my next video. Bye, guys.